All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's check in with our results. But first, a word from our sponsors. Very special tonight, and here it is. Okay, now back to our program. All right, so I'm checking in with the Minnesota races because since I'm from Minnesota, I fucking care about the Minnesota races more than all the rest of the bullshit that's happening tonight. So, let's see what we've got. Okay, so far about 10% of the precincts are reporting in heavily in Ramsey and Anoka counties because those counties have their shit together. They get their votes in early. Where I live in, well, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to come to my fucking house, so just ask me if you want to know. But let's just say where I live, they probably are tallying the votes by hand right now. Oh, just a minute, I just found out we actually need to hear from our sponsor again because otherwise we can't continue to pay for the show. Oh, that's just a minute. All right. Anyway, very good. Recommend. Okay, so back to the election reporting. Currently, we've got, with those precincts reporting in, about 10% reporting in. Mark Dayton has about 53% of the vote from those counties. Now, those are heavily Democratic counties. A lot of Democrat voters there, so nothing to worry about just yet, but, I think things will tighten up, but, we all know Dayton was a favorite coming into this thing. Tom Horner is at 12% of the vote, so it's about where he's been polling. It makes me a little suspicious because I've got to believe that the independents will actually show a little bit better than what they polled when people actually get in the ballot booth. So we'll see what happens. If it stays around 12%, I'm going to be mighty suspicious of the results, but I guess I'd come to expect nothing less from Mark Ritchie, who hopefully will be going home jobless tonight, but probably won't be. So, hi, Mr. Ritchie. I actually really love you. And Tom Emmer is at 34% of the vote. Now, let's not forget, of course, because I'm always talking about the independent candidates, where are they? How independent have you been in Minnesota? Well, you have 12% for Tom Horner. But let's take a look at the Green Party, Farheen Hakim. She is currently polling at 35%. Oh, wait, no, Minnesota, you got it wrong. It's 0.35%, you dummies. Jeez, you're going right for that Mark Dayton up there, aren't you, that piece of shit. All right, so Linda Eno's next. 0.11% so far for Linda Eno. This is my candidate. I voted for Linda Eno. Well, it looks like I might be one of, 1,000 people that vote for her, so I'll feel very distinguished about that. But at the same time, you got it wrong. Linda Eno should be going to the governor's mansion. But there's always next time. Howard Hansen is a very smart man. I've corresponded with him frequently during the election cycle, and I really respect his opinions. He might feel a little bit weird to be endorsed by a swearing minister, but there it is. You take them where you can get them. Grassroots Party, Chris Wright. Also, I'm a fan of Chris Wright. I like Chris Wright a lot. 0.27%. 0.27%. Yeah, so altogether, we're at about maybe 2%, 1.5% of the vote for independents, other than Tom Horner, who's not really an independent. And Ken Pentel, who I also like, and I really like his plan for Minnesota to have its own money supply, because that would end the Federal Reserve's monopoly on, money. Ken Pentel is at 0.28%. So, and write-ins are at almost 0.1%, not quite 0.1%. So, that's where we're at in the governor race, folks. It looks like so far Mark Dayton, as predicted, is pretty far ahead. He actually just pulled up about 53% of the vote, so it's gone up about a percentage. Secretary of State, no surprises here. The very wicked Mark Ritchie, who enabled things such as Frankenstein and Coleman Gate. to occur, which was a huge travesty of an election. And what is the Secretary of State in Minnesota good for other than making sure the election goes smoothly? Well, Mr. Ritchie's making sure his election goes smoothly. He's currently at 60% of the vote. Dan Severson, the Republican, is at 36%. And Jewel Carlson is at almost 4% of the vote. Wish I'd see a little bit stronger showing for the Independence Party candidate, but it looks like it's not going to be happening this year. State Auditor. Oh, boy. Rebecca Otto, so far pulling this one off of 58% of the vote. Pat Anderson at 37% of the vote. Shit, we just ran out of money. Okay, got to play another commercial for you. Well, which one should we play this time? Here it comes. Ready? That's right, that's right. And another word from our sponsors. Wonderful. The taste is like nothing else except slave labor. Okay. So, anyway, we have state auditor race, Pat Anderson at 37%, Annie Young of the Green Party at 3%. And, you know, overall statewide, if she can pull up to 5%, it ensures the Green Party stays a major political party for Minnesota. Kenny Gallagher, who pretty much answered no questionnaires. I could find no information on him, or I probably would have voted for him. I did go Annie Young. Kenny Gallagher could find no information on him. He's at about 1.3% of the vote, which is pretty good for somebody who answered absolutely no questions. And Attorney General, finally. Well, have you guessed yet? Lori Swanson's at 62% of the vote. That's right. And Chris Barden at 33%. Both of them about, really are probably worth about 1% of the vote, but between the two of them, they're going to have 99% of the vote. David Hoke, my candidate, real stand-up guy, really fights for what he believes in and is fighting for your freedom. Whether you vote him in or not, he's going to keep fighting for your freedom. He's at 0.6% of the vote right now. I was excited earlier because he was up over, almost 1.5% of the vote. And that's kind of fallen back down by the wayside. Bill Don from the Independence Party is at 4%. So that's where we're at on kind of those big statewide elections. Gonna just check our time here. We're at about 8 minutes. I'm trying to keep things pretty fresh here. Okay, so what we're looking at next is some of the congressional races. How about? U.S. Representative District 1, Tim Walz, of course, the widely or heavily favored candidate there. The incumbent, he's at 60% of the vote currently. I won't run down the entire list there, except to say that I am seeing 1.2% for Lars Johnson, who's party free. But then you look at, only 76 votes so far. It's not a heavily populated area, part of the state, so not a lot to look at there. Other notable areas. I don't want to go through all of these right now because they're just not all that interesting. Unfortunately, District 5 is going to get it wrong again and send Keith Ellison back to Congress. He's currently sitting at 70% of the vote. And that's probably how it'll stick because, those crazies in District 5 like people like Keith Ellison, who's also a complete nutbag. Waste of time, definitely some sort of Build-A-Bird or something like that, controlled party member. So definitely not a free thinker there. District 6, well, I'm sorry to say we'll probably be sending Michelle Bachmann back to Congress, and this is my district. Terrell Clark is at 42%. Michelle Bachmann's at 50% of the vote. Bachmann will probably go back. It's a good fight. It'll be a good fight out here, but Bachmann will probably be going back. I did actually vote for Michelle Bachmann, but not for U.S. Representative. I voted for Michelle Bachmann for, I think it was water and soil conservation officer or some crap like that. I thought, she could at least, then maybe she would be more accepting of the results if she had another political career to go into. Bob Anderson's at about 6% of the vote. So again, I'm just so disappointed that nobody is going for these Democrats in any Democrats, independents in any big way. Aubrey Immelman is at 2% of the vote here. Currently, Aubrey was the candidate I ended up going for because he was the most independent from the other parties. He's not somebody who just kind of moved over from the other parties. He's a true blue independent. That's about all that's interesting. There was some talk about Colin Peterson's safety currently. Well, I shouldn't even give these results. Currently, he's got, there's about 200 votes counted, so I'm not even going to give those results yet. Overstar, not many votes counted there either, but Overstar is sitting at about 60% of the vote there. I do want to check in real quick, if you don't mind, and if you do mind, why don't you just close the window or something. Real quick, checking in on the judicial races. So far, the incumbents are doing well. Helen Meyer's at about 62%, and Alan Page is about 70% of his race. So we'll see what happens there. That's all I've got for the moment. We paid the bills a couple times. Yes, I think we did. And oh, this just in. What? Yep. Oh, okay. All right. Yep. I've got to go to another word. For sponsors, this is getting a little bit sickening, but it's just kind of how things go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Whenever I get hungry, I always buy Texas Instruments brand's calculator. It's a tasty treat for everyone's feet. So that's it for now. Peace, love, and disrespect.